Here we go, Esther chapter 4, verse 8. Mordecai also gave Hathach a copy of the text of the edict for the Jews' annihilation, which had been published in Susa, to show to Esther and explain it to her. And Mordecai then told Hathach to instruct Esther to go into the king's presence and beg for mercy and plead with him for her people. The Jews had been decreed by Haman to be, and the king had signed it into law, to be executed. Ethnic cleansing across the Persian Empire. Esther replied, verse 11, all the king's officials and the people of the royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, the king has but one law, that they be put to death, unless the king extends the gold scepter to them and spares their lives. But 30 days have passed since I was called to go into the king. 30 days she hasn't spoken to her husband. Verse 13. Mordecai sent back this answer. Do you not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape? I mean, Mordecai and Esther are related. They're cousins. Mordecai raised Esther, but they're having a family squabble here. She's going, I don't want to go in. He's going, you got to go in. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position, the King James Version says you've come to the kingdom for such a time as this. This Trinity Church is God's word. And we believe it to be true. In August of 1988, 37 years ago, I was at Six Flags Mall in Arlington, which doesn't exist anymore. I was on a movie. We were going to see a movie with Tom Cruise and Elizabeth Shue and El Chico Mexican dinner date with my girlfriend of 1 month, Michelle. We had been dating for 30 days, and as we were there coming out of the restaurant, I ran into a former high school teammate, a young man by the name of Roger. It had been 9 years since I had graduated. Roger and I are both now 27 years old. I'm in my first year as an athletic director at Trinity Christian School. We're just beginning two-a-days in football. I was the offensive coordinator. I really, Roger, hey man. But Roger was super excited to see me. I mean, he was a 6'6" gentle giant. He was an excellent basketball player. We had played together at Evangel Temple. But he was also a little just quiet and just really a peaceful guy. He was an elite viola type of a violin orchestra player and played in some of the top symphonies as a teenager in Dallas during that time. And other than basketball, because of Roger's personality, we didn't have a lot in common. And as we were talking in the mall that night for a few minutes, I could tell that the past 9 years of his life had not been very good. He didn't reveal details, but he started to cry. And he looked at me and he said, Tim, I need someone like you in my life. He's broken, he's hurting, he's reaching out to an old high school friend, to a teammate. But I was in love, 30 days, I'm in love. Well, we're married 36 years, so it obviously worked. I'm working 60 hours a week as a teacher, a coach, an athletic director. I'm making $25,000 a year. I'm volunteering as a youth leader here in the church. But God had orchestrated this moment, this time in my life, for an interaction with Roger. But I kind of brushed off his desire for a deeper friendship and a real commitment to the next weekend for, hey, let's go have lunch. And I said, I'll call you next week. And I walked away holding Michelle's hand. I forgot about Roger. Forgot about meeting with him maybe, and I went on with my life. I didn't have time for him. Time. It's the theme of Missions Month from Esther 4:14. Who knows that you've come to the kingdom for such a time as this? What is time? A continuous progression of everyday events that move from the past through the present to the future, or that's what at least dictionary.com tells me. Time is something we measure with our clocks and our calendars, that tells us the duration between events and between the intervals of time and what happens between them. And last Monday, my grandson and I, he was just down here with the flag. We went to Andretti's in Grand Prairie, and when we left Andretti's, we were going across the road, highway of 161 to Sirius Pizza there, where the big outdoor water park is and all the things that are there. And he looked at me, he goes, "Pop, how long to get to Sirius Pizza? A minute?" And he wasn't too far off base, because it's probably just a couple of minutes. And I looked at him and I said, "Do you even know what a minute is?" And he goes, "No." I go, "There are 60 seconds to a minute. 1001, 1002. When you get to 60, it's a minute. There are 60 minutes to an hour. There are 24 hours to a day. There's 365 days to a year." And by this time, he's already tuned me completely out. But now I'm in a deep dive intellectually thinking, what is a year? Why do we have this term, a year? Where does it come from? Who decided it? A year is the period of time that we measure. I looked this up. The vernal equinox to the vernal equinox. Well, that didn't help me any. I mean, who in this room knows what a vernal equinox is? There are probably a few. Yeah, Terrence, why does that not surprise me? Physics. Well, the vernal equinox is generally March 20th or March 21st every year. It is that point of life, every season, in which the earth is equal on its axis, and it doesn't tilt toward the sun or away from the sun. So everywhere on earth, day and night are equal on that day. So the same amount of daylight you have on March 20th here in Texas is the same amount of daylight you have on March 20th in Vietnam. It's a weird place. And so from the time that the earth moves, it's 306 to the next year, March 20th, it's 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds. That's why we do leap year every 4 years. So we have to add in the extra almost 6 hours of every year. Time. What's crazy about time is human history is divided by a time of the birth of Jesus. We're in 2025 AD. AD is Anno Domini. The Anno Domini is Latin for year of the Lord. So once the Lord is born, the time where historians believe he was probably born, we began counting forward. And then if you want to go backwards from his birth, 700 BC, 800 BC, 3000 BC, our text today, Esther, like 480 BC, we're counting backwards from the year of Christ's birth. Understand this, that God created time. When you say, "I don't have the time," it's really a more powerful spiritual thing that you're saying than you even realize. I mean, he not only created idea, it was his idea, it was his invention. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But if you go down 13 verses to verse 14, he said, "Let light separate day and night." The lights, the sun and the moon and the stars, they serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. Time began with God's creation. Time is not random. Time is God's cosmic stage for his unfolding plan. It's not an accident you're here this morning. I just kind of felt like coming, or I'll always come. Galatians 4:4. In the fullness of time, Jesus came. Ephesians 1:10. Mystery of the church was revealed when times had reached their fulfillment. So understand this. When we say it's time, it means God has brought each one of us here for a reason, for a purpose. And you have an assignment as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus Christ. You have an assignment that is divinely and uniquely crafted for you. One of the things that can be so frustrating is I can have an assignment that's really incredible and really amazing in my own mind and my own thoughts and my own passions, and then I look at somebody else and they're on some other assignment, and I don't value their assignment as much as I value my assignment. But the reality is each one of us has a different part and a different thing to do with the time that God has given us. As we look at our text today, that's the setting, time. Esther's time. It's an amazing story. In the book of Esther, 100 years since the Jews were exiled into Babylon. The Persians had conquered the Babylonians about 50 years later, and when the Persians conquered the Babylonians, they took over the Jewish people of the empire. They took over lots of people, but the Jews were a part of that. And now they're being ruled by the Persians. They have the temple rebuilt. They have some freedoms, but are still under the domination of a world power. And the king, a man by the name of Xerxes, he's about to go to war. He's about to go to war with the Greeks. If you've ever watched the movie 300, the king in Esther is the king of Persia, represented in the movie 300. And when he goes to war, he's going to go to war against a Greek Spartan hero by the name of Leonidas. And at the pass of Thermopylae, those 300 Greeks are going to take a stand against Esther's husband's military forces. And so as he's about to go to war, to get to this moment in history that we all know about, he wants to impress all of the military leaders. And so he throws a party, 127 provinces, and brings all the military leaders, all the commanders in, having a good time, drinking, getting... It's a misogynistic culture. It's all men. And so when he gets to the height of the party after a few days and drunk and alcohol and all things that are going on, he says, you know what? I got a beautiful wife. She's amazing. You know, we don't have social media in 480 BC, so you know what? I'm just going to bring her out. And he calls for the queen. He says, honey, come on out. I want to show you off. And she was not a trad wife. Vashti, she said no. When he said, come, she said, I'm not going. And to go against the king, he got ticked off. He fired her, divorced her as queen, Vashti, and then passed a law forever banning her from his presence. And if you look at rabbis, Jewish historians, it's not in the Bible, they say they took Vashti out and they quietly beheaded her, cut off her head, because she told the king, I'm not coming to your party. And so now, you have, this too much Bible for y'all? Now you have a problem. There's no queen. And so Xerxes gets this idea from one of his leaders, hey, why don't you go find all the beautiful young women of your empire and hold a beauty pageant? The original Bachelor, before Jesse Palmer and Chris Harrison, with the 25 ladies, on ABC. Is it ABC? I think it's ABC. That you had Xerxes and over 1,000 women with a 4-year beauty pageant. Women were going to rotate. I hope there are no kids here. They were going to rotate through his bedroom every night until he found one that he liked, and he's going to make her queen. Esther wins. She's crowned queen. She's a Jew, though. It's a problem. And she has a cousin named Mordecai who had raised her after her parents died, like we said, and he upsets Elon Musk, the most powerful financial advisor to the Persian king, a man by the name of Haman, because he passes by. Mordecai won't bow down to Haman. Haman gets mad, goes to the king and says, hey, I'm Elon Musk. I've got all this money. I'm the reason you won the election. I'm the reason you have the money to go to war. I want a law passed. I want every Jew in your empire executed. On January 13th, 13th day of the first month, they signed it into law. The king's signet ring could not be changed. That on the 12th month, on the 13th day, every Jew were to be killed. And Haman is so into this, he says, I'm going to give you 10,000 talents of silver to pay for the execution. So when this gets out to all the Jews in the empire, they freak out. And Mordecai goes in, says, go tell Esther, my cousin, who's in there, why is the king doing this? He says, you got to do something. Go to the king. Save your people. And Esther says, it's been 30 days. The king has not called me in. If I go in uninvited, I don't think I'm going. Now, she doesn't say that in the text, but by what she's replying to Mordecai, she's saying, I don't want to go in. It's too risky. You're asking too much. And he says, who knows if God has destined you to come to the kingdom, position for such a time as this. And can I tell you, Trinity Church, it's time for us to use our authority, our influence, our power, our resources. It's time for us to look at the world and go, you know what? We have a responsibility to save people. We have the gospel, means good news. Our lives, our positions, our talents, our resources are not accidental. We have come to the kingdom, to our American position for such a time as this. When you're looking at Becky and she's showing that table of resources, that's not something made up. I mean, we have phones that are worth $500 to $1,500. We have cars. Everyone in this room probably has a car or access to a car. This is not the norm in the world. We have things no one else has. I mean, we have poverty in the United States. There's no question about that. But it's not the poverty at the level you see in many parts of the world. We were here for a time. We have a kingdom assignment. Make disciples, baptize them, Matthew 28. Teach them, obey God's commandments, be witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. It's why we do Missions Month, because it's our time to look at the Great Commission. And I think for 3 weeks, it's good for us to give a tithe, because what's the altar generally for? My health, my finances, my soul. And those are all things. We do it throughout the year. It's powerful. But for a few weeks, we're saying, hey, let's take a few moments off ourselves and look. It's hard. Generally, when we start Missions Month, it starts off crowded, and then it kind of dwindles down. We're being asked. So look at Esther. 3 things she did that I think you should do. First one is simple. It's just go. Verse 15, chapter 4, she says, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. It's a simple word, go. In the Bible, go means physical travel, action, but it also means obedience to God's command. I mean, literally, he's saying, go into the king, and she does it. To go into the inner court without permission, she's risking rejection. She's risking failure. She's risking her own life just by the simple thing to have to go. Anybody been to Vietnam in here? Anyone? It's few. I went to Vietnam the first time in 2018. Missionary dropped me off at the hotel room that night. Me and Alec Phelps, Randy Phelps' son, he was our creative director at the time, and he was filming, and he says, hey, I need you to meet me at this address in the morning. We get up, we get out of our hotel. I get to the edge of the street, and this is what I find. We're here, we're waiting to cross the road. As you can see, there aren't really the lights that anybody pays attention to. That's mass chaos getting into people. we're at a point later in the trip in which we're on motorbikes. But I'm trying to give you just a little small portion. When I'm stepping out of the hotel and I'm getting to go down to our meeting place, we're not on motorbikes, I'm on foot. And I've got to cross the street. And the street there are no traffic signs, there are no traffic lights, there are no police officers. It's just bikes and a few cars and trucks. And they tell you, get to the edge of the street, don't look at any of the motorcycles or the cars, just put your head down and just start walking. From here to, back where the sound booth is. And the people in Vietnam that drive, they'll just swerve around you. But if you change pace or you look at them, it creates a break in the rhythm and you'll get killed. I mean, I'm supposed to preach to pastors in illegal underground settings for, 5 days. I'm not going because I don't want to die on the road. But at some point, okay, whatever. God, I hope you're still there. Just start walking. I had to do that probably 30, 40 times that time that I'm there in busy parts. And somehow I'm still here, and I've been back a couple of times. Those missionaries, Jason and Sarah, Jason's from Brady, Texas. Country boy. He has his kids practice skinning chickens and stuff because they don't have any deer or anything in Vietnam because he's doing that. Sarah is a Navajo, Native American from Navajo Nation in Arizona. God calls them to Vietnam, North Vietnam. It says go. They have 3 kids under the age of 8. Can you imagine a mom having to leave your house and walk with a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an 8-year-old to the grocery store with all those motorcycles and cars? Had to do it every day. She has a demonic attack her first year. Doesn't get out of bed for almost 3 months. They're told by the regional director, says, we don't want you to go because no one learns the language. It's not safe in North Vietnam. No one even gets a motorcycle license up there. It's crazy. No one gets work visas from communist North China. They went anyway. He preaches in Vietnamese. He's fluent in Vietnamese. He drives a bike like he belongs, in motocross somewhere, here in Texas. They have trained and ordained hundreds of pastors. They planted dozens of churches. They built a Bible school, 5 stories tall, training pastors. I think it cost like $2 million, and we gave like $300,000 to that. In downtown Hanoi, the heart of communist North Vietnam. They went. They risked everything for the Vietnamese people. That's what Esther did. She sent this reply to Mordecai, go gather all the Jews who are in Susa, fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, day or night. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. And can I help you understand, even though only a couple people in this room have been to Vietnam, only a couple people raised their hand, every single one of you have been to Vietnam. Because through what we do here, because what is Esther asking them to do? She's saying, hey, I'm going to fast and pray. My attendants are going to fast and pray. Every one of the Jewish people in the empire are going to fast and pray. And we're going to believe God that salvation is going to come. And every time that you send a support, we send a check to Jason and Sarah, a check to David and Christy. When we do that to all of our missionaries, we are going with them. We're a part of their victory. If you'll look at a list of some of our missionaries there, over 120, it represents the nations. It represents Cedar Hill. It represents South Dallas. It represents the United States. It's 30,000 a month. You do that. We go. It's a team effort. The second thing that you need to have is a game plan. I've always been kind of more impressed with Mordecai than Esther. My opinion was that Esther was someone who just won a beauty pageant. Mordecai was the brains. He's the one that's encouraging her to do all this kind of stuff. But upon further review, instant replay, NFL, as I've looked at it, I don't think I was mistaken. She's filled with wisdom. When she's in a reality show to win the queen, there's 1,000 contestants with her. And she has something that none of them have. She's like on Survivor. She builds an alliance with the king's most trusted eunuch, Haggai. And she gets close to him and she gets into his life. And he finds favor with Esther. And then when it's her night for her one night audition with the king and how she is going to be perceived as sexually and with her beauty, she doesn't take anything with her except what Haggai told her to take. She's got wisdom beyond her years. And not only that, when it was time for her to go and to save the Jews, she had a game plan to defeat Haman. Because yes, she's going to go in and she's going to risk everything by getting in the inner court. And the king's going to have to do the scepter. But when the king extends it to her and she has to go make the request, what's going to happen then? When the king sees Esther, he's reminded of why she won the beauty contest. He goes, oh, Esther. And he's so taken by her because he knows what she risked. And in his own way, I'm thinking he loves her. And he says, Esther, what's your request? Anything you want, it's yours. And what's she going in? What's she doing? She's going in to save her people. And when he says that, she says, come to a banquet tomorrow and bring Haman, and I'll tell you then. She's smart. She's making the king wait, and she's also bringing her enemy close, so he'll be right there. She's got a strategy. He comes that next day. What's your request? What's your petition? Spare my people. And then this guy, he did it. And then, I didn't tell this in the first service, King is so mad he leaves, furious because of what Haman had done, and now it's his wife that he loves. Well, Haman realizes he's in trouble. He falls on Esther's lap. King comes back in. He thinks Haman is trying to physically get with his wife. Will you molest the queen even in my presence? Esther was brilliant. And he's hung on the very scaffold that he had put up for Mordecai. And she orchestrated all of that through the words of wisdom from her. Our missionaries to Uganda, Reynold and Kathy Maines, Gulu Community Park, they're not just building a park. Oh, let's just go build a park. No. Soccer fields, basketball courts. Why? Because that's a strategy to reach the young people, the young adults of their culture and get them to a place. Their family events that they have and all the family locations where they're bringing wives together to do some kind of makeovers and some kind of health fitness clubs. All these kind of things are designed to bring families to Gulu Community Park so that they can fend off the rising power of Islam that's sweeping over northern Uganda. And then Kid City, which you saw some of that one part of just talked about with the Lego building. With that one Kid City, these beautiful colored buildings, they have Legos, they have movie theater, they have a library, they have a computer lab, they have to reach the children because they know that over 50% of every person who lives in northern Uganda is under the age of 15 years old. They have a strategy. One day offering for us, November 30th, that Thanksgiving weekend Sunday. Every year, we have a strategy. Because one of the churches we built in Vietnam for $30,000 6 years ago, They're now running 250 to 300 people, which is a mega church. And their building can't hold it. So they need $85,000 to build a new church. So our strategies, some of our one-day offering will go to that. Every year we give $80,000 to Inspire School Ministries, which puts a faith-based, under-the-radar program into our public schools. Cedar Hill, Trinity Leadership, South Oak Cliff, and other places. And we can't do that without the resources, and we have a strategy how to get the resources. Becky says, we're giving away 500 turkeys. I'm going, oh God, how are we going to have the money? But that's the heart of our church. Then there's a strategy of how to, and that's part of our one-day offering, as well as the offerings over the last couple of weeks. Convoy of Hope, $30,000. We have to want to help when disaster strikes, that we are part of sending food and water to places that have tornadoes and fires and hurricanes. Strategy. There's a game plan. Because Esther had it, and you need to have it. You got a lost person in your family? Lost person? Go and have some kind of plan. And then finally, worship team if you'll come. You got to give. It's the first week. We're not taking an offering. I mean, as far as like for missions. I don't want you to think about money here when I say give, because it's a part of Esther's story. But I think the word sacrifice is maybe even better than give. I use give because it rhymed with all the G's on the points, you know. I mean, even Haman, who was going to kill the Jews, he was willing to sacrifice 10,000 talents of silver to get what he wanted. I did the study on that. 10,000 talents is 375 tons. 375 tons, this is how my mind works, is 750,000 pounds. 750,000 pounds is 12 million ounces. Silver right now in the United States is going for about $48 an ounce. So Haman is going, King, if you kill all these people, I'll give you $576 million. That's how bad he wanted to get rid of the Jews. But it's Esther's sacrifice that takes my breath away. And I don't mean the sacrifice of risking her life. Yes. I'm talking about the sacrifice of wealth. Because twice, she goes in before the king, her husband, into the inner courts. When he sees her, Esther, what do you want? Even up to half the kingdom, I'll give it to you. When she goes to the banquet, he comes to the banquet, he says, Esther, what's your petition? It will be given to you. What's your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted. And can I ask you the question, what is half the wealth of the United States of America? Is that Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know, Bill Gates, money all put together? I don't know. But what I'm saying is Persia was a world empire at the height of its power like the U.S. is right now. And Esther, a single woman, is offered half of the wealth of the greatest nation in the world. And she says, no. All I want is you to save my people. And it works. And the question is, what are we willing to offer? What are we willing to sacrifice for someone's salvation? For me, in that moment with Roger, I wasn't being asked to give money. I was being asked for my time. I liked Roger. We were teammates, but I didn't want to spend time with Roger. Now, what I didn't know that day in that mall in August of 1988. I didn't know that Roger had tried to commit suicide 30 days earlier. I didn't know that he had been committed to Parkland Hospital, and from Parkland Hospital they had put him in Hillside. The name of Hillside in 1988 was Hillside Mental Health and Mental Retardation Facility. And that facility allowed weekend furloughs where you could go hang out with your family. And so he was in the mall, in Six Flags Mall, with his parents that night. And I saw him from a distance, but, I didn't talk to him. And when I went about my life and I didn't have the time, on Sunday he was back at Hillside. A week later, he asked a fellow patient if he knew where he could get a gun so he could kill himself. The patient told the facility. The facility made plans to commit him to Terrell State Hospital. And on the day of his transfer, he escaped out the front door, located near I-30, downtown Dallas, ran onto the highway being chased by the police and the hospital, and threw himself in front of a semi-truck and killed himself. I found out about it a few days later. It's a moment in my life that marked me. I was being asked, God, put a moment in front of me. I don't have the time. I don't know. He may put, I need you to give to this. I don't know. So that's where we are today. That's why it's not a typical altar call. This card that you got, if you don't, you should have got coming in. It's blank on the back for a reason. Ushers will have them if you need one where you are. But do you have someone in your life that you're believing for their salvation? Do you have a nation that you're praying for? I know we have a number of Nigerians that attend our church here that have roots and ancestry in Nigeria, and their nation is under tremendous attack. And our altar is going to be, as the worship team worships for a few minutes, is you're going to write a name or a nation, or maybe it's foster care, maybe it's a ministry that God has just placed on your heart. I don't know. Write that, and you're going to bring it, and you're going to set it on the front. And this month, we're going to at prayer every week, we're going to pray over these. I know next Sunday, Pastor wants these cards for next Sunday as well. So wherever you are, when you get ready with that, you just leave your chair and then come and lay it here and then go back to your seat, and then we're going to have a prayer to conclude. So again, one more thing. Maybe you need Jesus today. Maybe you need salvation. Just put your own name on that. Say, I'm coming to the Lord. And we'll get in touch with you, and we'll walk this journey with you.